All right, guys, I'm going to take you along on a hunt that I had last season where I was in a new area, new state, and it was a 3-day hunt. So I trekked over there, spent the nights in a camper, and hunted an area that I had scouted on foot in the summer months, as well as a lot of e-scouting, and that led me to this point. So days 1 and 2, very warm. We started with snow. We lost snow. By the end of the second day, I was over 20 miles and had yet to see a deer. I had been finding sign, but I just hadn't found a fresh track, and we were losing snow quickly. The hunt starts on my 3rd day. Now, we got snow and rain the night before, and it all froze up. So what you're going to see is that it was very crunchy. There was very, very little snow, super loud, noisy. There wasn't a lot of wind. I started the day on a buck and a doe track, and I ended up catching them on top of a softwood bluff, and it wasn't a buck that I wanted to, waste time on in conditions like that. So at this point, I was about 4.5 miles as a crow flies from my truck, and I decided it was time to start making my swing back. Upon doing that, I came across another track, a track that I thought to be a buck, and it wasn't until I followed it further, as you're going to see, that I determined that it was a buck, and he was very much displaying rutting behavior. As I followed that buck, we came into a swamp, and it was at that point that I lost camera because the battery died, new to videoing here, and hadn't replaced the battery. So that's just to kind of give you guys a synopsis of what's going on this hunt. I hope you enjoy it.
at my back. And it's like walking on cornflakes. But you never know. He's headed the same way I am, so. Yeah, I mean, if he's looking for does, he just as easily could swing right back around. You know, and I catch him on a swing. Doesn't look like he's anything huge. Could be a big doe for all I know. But like I said, going the same way I am, so we'll stay on him. He's acting like a buck the way he's moving along. Every once in a while he'll kind of bound. He's just trying to find a doe. That's fresh. He's right here somewhere. Made a scrape here. He's made 3 scrapes in the last 150 yards. I think we're gonna bump into him soon. Right. Found him.
So at this point, the buck moves from hardwood to crossing down over brook and into a primarily cedar softwood swamp. So I lost snow at this point. There's very little snow, maybe a ½ inch anyway. We lost snow, and I stopped to kind of gather my thoughts and figure out how I wanted to approach continuing on this track. Now, the swamp wasn't huge, so my plan was that I could potentially either circle or make my way through, and when I hit the other side, or we got back into hardwood, there should be more snow. I should be able to find that track again. I immediately got out my grunt call. I was going to call my way through, okay, hoping that if he was right there, as I knew I was close, if he was right there somewhere, that I could get him to maybe respond and come in and get a shot. if nothing else, I'm covering my sound as I'm making my way through there. Okay, so that's kind of what happened at this situation. I lost battery on the camera, but I just want to give you kind of an overview of what I was thinking, okay, as we changed cover, and that happens a lot when tracking bucks, where you're gonna find yourself in situations where either you're losing snow or you're gonna get into an area that's so tracked up, a barnyard as we call it, and you're gonna potentially waste all day just trying to go in circles there. So how are you gonna make your way either through it, around it? Are you gonna do some calling? What's your plan so that you can still be in the game with the buck that you're tracking?
Hey guys, so I've been tracking this buck for maybe a mile, and we just crossed into this softwood. We've been in the hardwood, and it's super crunchy, like really crunchy, but he's been laying down scrape after scrape after scrape, and I knew that if I could just stay on him, you know, maybe I could make contact with him. So we crossed over this, and I stopped here, had a little snack, and I always stand behind a big tree. So I was standing right there. You know, if I'm gonna stop and move around at all. Then I grabbed one of these cedar boughs and rubbed it all over me, because I like to do that too. I put some in my pocket, save for later. And then I looked up the hill here to figure out where I was going to walk, because I couldn't follow his track anymore. You know, it got into this softwood here, and so I was just going to do some calling, work my way up through. I'm not all that far, maybe a mile from my truck, so I was going to make my way back. I look off to my left, I see the body of a deer, and he's moving through, and then I saw the rack, and I got him. You know, it's been one amazing season. Like, and it's not over, but I am just so thankful to have the opportunity to hunt like this. And here I am in a state I've never hunted before. A lot of scouting, but the conditions kind of went to heck here. But, you know, I got on that track. I knew it was a buck. You just got to stay with it. And, you know, he was rutting. So you never know. They might circle, come back around like he did right here. You know, he crossed just down here. I didn't know which way he went. But, you know, they're looking for does, and you just have to kind of put yourself in deer brain mode, and what would a buck do? Sometimes it works out, you know. And this is one hell of a buck. Oh my gosh. Just like what you dream about. Look at this thing. Look at that. Split brows on both sides. I mean, they don't get any better. Oh my gosh. Oh, a lot of blood because I had to finish him. And if you're ever gonna finish off a deer, shoot him where there's no meat. So I shot him in the heart, and I do like to eat the heart too. But I mean, I'm absolutely tickled. Like, this is insane. I had the wherewithal to turn the GoPro on, so I got it all on video.
which is cool. I've never done that before. Thank you, deer gods. What an amazing buck. Just, yeah. Well, here's another real beautiful New England buck. So it's my third day out here. I've never hunted New York before. Only scouted it, and this is an area that I actually scouted 2 years ago in the summer. Hiked in, did a little looking around, and yeah, so I tagged out in Maine and New Hampshire, and I could see there was some snow over here, so I said, well, screw it. I took our cargo trailer and made the haul over. The snow was so-so, and yesterday, we had 2 days, one of 40 degrees one day, and then yesterday it was 50 degrees, and then it rained. So we lost almost every bit of snow. My plan was to leave today because tomorrow we're supposed to start getting some snow in Vermont. I haven't been home a whole lot, so figured I'd go hunt the home state. So I was going to hunt today. I had made a big loop, and made a big loop, got, it was about 5 miles out, and I came back down over, I had jumped some deer, and just couldn't get on them. The leaves, everything's frozen solid and crunchy, so it's really hard to get up close to deer. There also wasn't a whole lot of wind to cover your sound, so pretty hard day to track deer, but there was enough snow to see tracks. So anyway, I bumped those first two, decided that they weren't deer that I wanted to screw around with. Made my way back, kind of making my swing back towards the trail I hiked in on, and I cut his track. Not a huge hoof, and I'm still learning the deer over here. I mean, obviously, he's got an amazing rack, very, very mature buck, but they just don't have as big a hoof. They're not as big a body. He's probably 180 pounds, 175. But anyway, I found his track and followed it for a ways. He was headed the way I was going, and then he started making some scrapes, and I could just tell by his mannerisms that he was like on the move. He'd make a scrape, and then he'd kind of trot, and then he was just moving. He's looking for does. So my hope was that if I could catch up to him, maybe I catch him preoccupied, or I catch him doing a swing. Like, they'll do that. They're not just going to straight line all the time. They come into areas like this, and they might swing around, come back through. He had already been making kind of a great big circle. So anyway, we got to a brook down here and crossed out of the kind of beachy maple hardwood into the softwood, and track was gone. So I stopped right where he crossed, had a snack, and I always stop by I was by a cedar tree like that. Always lean up against a big tree like that, because you just never know. I mean, here I am on the track. I knew I was close to him, and I had a snack. I put my pack back on, and I actually grabbed a cedar limb and busted off a piece, rubbed that on me. I like to do that when I find them. And I took one step and looked to my left, kind of scanning where I was going to walk, and I see the buck coming out. So I had crossed the brook down there where I thought his track came across, and he was just like 40 yards down from me. And what he'd probably done was crossed over, made a little loop here. I was having my snack, and he just, we were in the same area, and you just, like, that's part of tracking. Like, staying with it even when the conditions aren't perfect, because you don't know what he's going to do. They're very inconsistent during the rut, extremely inconsistent. I mean, for one, even if I didn't come on to the buck that I was tracking, you could come on to another deer coming the other way because he took you into him, right? So you just stay with it. If you don't have anything better going on during the day in terms of tracks, stay with that track. If you bust him out, maybe you get a look at him and you realize, okay, he's not a buck I want to follow in these conditions anyway. Or in a situation like this, you have an encounter with that deer and you're able to harvest him in really not great conditions. So yeah, I mean, you just got to keep charging. You got to stay with it, and just know that, you know, you're hunting intuition, and you're, you know, listening to that gut feeling, right? Like experienced hunters, even non-experienced, like we're going to have those visceral kind of like reactions to certain situations that we're in. And a lot of times, like, I'm going to be honest, as veteran as I might be, I listen to my gut a lot. I was just telling my brother that in a text message the other day. It's like, you know, it's all new to me here, but I'm going to listen to my hunter intuition. I'm going to listen to my gut, just kind of go with the flow, keep the good vibes going. And sometimes that means that, you know, you have a really nice trophy that you have an encounter with, and you have the opportunity to harvest. So yeah, now I got to get him out of here. It could be a lot worse. It's not going to be easy because I think I got to go through all this softwood. It looked kind of gnarly. I got to go up over this little ridge here, but there's not much else I'd rather be doing, you know. Pretty freaking cool. I mean, I'm pretty happy, and I'm super appreciative to the deer gods. This is really going to be really helpful, you know, meat in the freezer. Glad to already have a few, and I think that this year, we're going to be able to eat wild game meat for the entire year without having to buy any at the store, and that means so much to me. So anyway, time to get to work. Keep charging, guys.
Dragging bucks uphill. One tug at a time. That's what we train for. Finally gonna get a little bit of snow now to drag on.